back to Arise Entertainment 360. He's worked with everyone from Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight, Yolanda Adams, to Brandy, Monica, and Neo.
Whew, and the list goes on. And now he's starring in the Broadway musical Hamilton. Actor, singer, songwriter, Bryan Terrell Clark, welcome to the show.
What's going on, y'all? Listen, it's a blessing to be here. I've been sitting back there watching you guys having the best time.
Oh, we love that. We've been having the best time,
here.
too.
Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, okay, can I just say, I had the best time last week, Wednesday, when I went to go and watch Hamilton. You are exceptionally talented at what you do.
Thank you
What
so
is
much.
it like being in effectively the world's most popular musical?
It's kind of like being shot out of a cannon. I mean, the first time I did the show was January 10th last year. And it was a crazy kind of serendipitous night because my first night on as George Washington, the first president, as a black man, was Barack Obama's final speech in Chicago.
And you have a song like that.
Exactly.
Wow.
So I was singing One Last Time while he was giving his One Last Time speech. And so I'm one of those performers that I don't really have that pretty Denzel Washington one teardrop cry. Like every now and then I do, but most of the time it's a very Viola Davis, you know, full face. Yes. So I was singing One Last Time. I get to the end of the stage and my hands start shaking and I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no, Barack Obama, and literally just started weeping. What was so powerful is I looked out in the audience and I think we all had the same moment because there wasn't a dry eye in the house, and so that was insane. And that was my first night, and it just keeps getting better and better. You know, every night after that.
Immediate connection with the audience. Tell me, man.
Yeah.
But you are a black man playing the first U.S. president, George Washington. Take us back to that audition process. What was that like?
Man, you know, to every performer that's out there, or I would actually honestly say anybody who's striving to accomplish a goal, let's say that, I think that oftentimes goals aren't accomplished not because they don't have luck or opportunity. It's about endurance and patience. I auditioned for this show 7 times.
No.
So, how many?
7.
For one part?
For one role.
Wow.
The first audition round was about 4 different times going in and out. And at the time, Chris Jackson, shout out to Chris out there, who originated the role, he had gotten a TV show. And I think they weren't quite sure when or if he was going to leave. And so they were auditioning folks, and I had gone through, you know, that round of auditions. So then I want to say the next year, almost a year, they started auditioning again, and I was kind of over it. I just
been there, done that. Right.
I was just, you know, sometimes you just get exhausted from that's why I said it really is about endurance. This is a long race in this entertainment industry, and there's lots of ups and downs. And I think I was just kind of like, who else is going to be in the room? They all saw me before. And so my manager laughed at me, as you guys did, and she said, I got a good feeling about this last time. Go in this last time. And I did, and I booked it. And it has been literally a dream job.
Amen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, watching this play, the one thing that stands out for me is the fact that there are no sentences. They're all lyrics. You sing the whole thing.
The whole thing.
What is it like
The
having
whole
to
thing.
memorize so many songs, especially the fast ones?
Yeah, it's interesting because, you know, this is a hip-hop musical. And for all of my hip-hop heads out there, you know, especially those of us who love classic hip-hops, you hear all the references, you hear every single artist that you love, you hear their influence in the show. But honestly, what I think helps me with this show the most is I always joke with my music directors and I say, well, I'm a black man who can do Shakespeare and who sang gospel. So those are the tools I use in the show. But it really is. I mean, the show is more like an opera than anything else. There are no book scenes that are just scenes. Everything is rapped. And if it's not rapped, it's sung. And so it takes a lot of endurance. It's also a long show.
It is a long show, 2 hours, 45 minutes, and it didn't feel as though 20 minutes had passed by the end of it.
Yeah, and that's a blessing to hear from the audience because we on stage feel it. It's again, you got to keep that energy up and keep listen, you guys are paying a lot of money and have waited a long time to come, and we want to give you the best show possible. So, you know, we're giving you 150%.
Definitely doing that.
Yeah, you do it over
Trying
and over
to.
and over again.
Yeah,
How often
man.
do you guys ever change it around or have to go back in in for rehearsals, or is it like once you got it, we're good?
No, all the time.
Because it seems like you guys always add things, and you guys talk to the audience beforehand and switch up things.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely rehearse the show a lot. I think that now that we are building other companies, I mean, there's companies around the world. There's Hamilton's in London right now, and we have a couple different tours in the U.S. And I think as the creative team, as they're working on the show, they're fine tuning it. And so, we're definitely in rehearsals during the week. We also have understudies and swings who cover multiple roles. They're really the heroes of the show. So that when one of us is out sick, at any moment's notice, they jump on stage and have to take over the role. So we're often in rehearsals with those guys too. Yeah.
So this is where we're going after the show today.
Yes,
we're going to go become your understudies.
Oh, okay.
We're ready.
Now, you are no stranger to the stage because you were in Motown, you were in Fences, and I mean, you only graduated from the best school in the world for theatre, Yale School of Drama.
Yeah.
What does theatre mean to you?
I mean, I think theater is the place where conversations can happen. I mean, theater is the place. First of all, it's the blue collar work of the entertainment industry. I love television, I love film, but when you're in a show, it's almost like, and I've heard one of my friends say this, it's like all of us are hauling pails of water to the well. But we're all doing it together. It is one of the most collaborative experiences you will ever have. And, speaking of Yale and theater training, a lot of people, a few folks that are good friends that are in the movie Black Panther are all Yaleys. I mean, Angela Bassett, shout out to Angela, Winston, Lupita. So the training, I think, from a program like Yale and training in the theater in general, I think really allows you to be kind of diverse as a performer. And if you can build those muscles, you can perform anything, anywhere.
Well, as you do, because you've done all of those, TV, film, theater. It just comes naturally to you.
We're just trying to pay bills, brother.
Right. Well, you're paying bills, and we have to pay a few bills, so we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk more with you, right?
What kind of bills do we pay during the commercial break?
So that's what they say. We got to pay bills.
We're going to find out.
Yeah. All right, so we'll be right back with more 360. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Arise Entertainment 360. Now, we are still, of course, joined by Bryan Terrell Clark of Hamilton fame.
Yes.
And when you are not on the stage, you are singing with some of those greats that we mentioned earlier, from Yolanda to Neil to Brandy.
Everybody.
Yeah. Have you ever been so starstruck that you were kind of like, blah, 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 blah?
Absolutely. So let's talk about how this music thing happened. A lot of times, you just take whatever skills you have and you try to do the best you can with them. So I was living in Los Angeles, and there was a huge writer's strike, and there was no acting jobs for a while. And so I thought to myself, I could be a waiter. I need to get back in the gym. Maybe I could strip. I could kind of be a pastor. I mean, my mom's a pastor. I could go into that.
From stripping to becoming a pastor.
Hey, it's all in there. And
Diversity.
so I also sang. And so essentially what ended up happening was I started a whole nother career. And I was in and out of the studio singing background for artists. I was singing background for artists on award shows. And I, some kind of way, through the grace of God, landed a gig singing behind the Anita Baker.
Wow. Legend.
I felt like I was shaking and starstruck and stumbling over words every time I was in her presence. And she used to call me Mr. Bryan. Come here, Mr. Bryan. And I used to, over there, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. She's amazing. And the blessing, I think, of working under artists of that caliber is just watching them work teaches you so much. And I think it's really, really important in whatever you do, again, to kind of get your sights on people that you think work in excellence and follow in their footsteps.
Absolutely.
And then find a way to make it your own.
So will you be rejoining Ms. Anita Baker on the tour she's
friends
currently on?
I know I was going to say I have friends that are on the tour right now, but unfortunately, I got to stay over at Hamilton for a little
We
while.
need you.
For a little while, you know
That's
what
a
I'm
good
saying?
thing. That's a good
I'm
thing.
going to stay over here at Hamilton, but I give y'all much love out there.
Right. But you can't just mention, singing for her and, singing everywhere and not give us a little something. You want to drop a little, hey, little something, whatever.
I mean,
some of the music you're working on, maybe.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, so I'm working on some stuff right now.
But we want to hear it.
Oh, you want to hear it?
We're going to talk about it in a minute. We want to hear
I can't
something.
just drop free stuff on the air.
You can.
Warm it up.
I
Listen,
just called to say I love you. I just called to say how much I care. I just called to say I love you. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart.
All right. That boy can sing.
I'm lip
That boy can
syncing so
sing.
that people don't change the channel if I actually
see.
start singing. That was phenomenal. You came prepared.
Listen, y'all got me up here working, but it's cool.
I just paid hundreds of dollars to watch you on
You
stage.
did though, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And
This is payback.
And listen, and I appreciate you coming and supporting.
Oh, God.
Fantastic stuff. Now we need to focus a little bit more on the music because
Yes.
with being in a singing production, or singing or dancing, any plans to come back as a musician anytime soon?
Yeah, I've been working on some stuff for a while, and it's funny because I did a couple episodes of Empire with a really good friend of mine, Jesse Smollett, and you know, there was a song that I thought was really, really good for the work that he was doing, and he kind of latched hold to it, and
Freedom.
Yeah, Freedom.
Yes,
It's his
Freedom.
first single, so he heard the demo. We were riding around Chicago, and he's like, "Play it again." Play it again. Play it again. This is speaking to my heart right now. Play it again. And so, so with Hamilton going on, we're doing 8 shows a week, so it's really hard to kind of do a lot of other things, but we try. And so I'm in the studio working on my own stuff right now, but I'm also still writing for artists. And so y'all go out there and check out Freedom, Jesse Smollett.
Yes.
His album just dropped a few weeks ago, and it's
Yeah, well, we were at
doing
the
pretty well.
Oscars. He had a little party out there and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
Name
your
dropping
music.
casually.
Yeah, my music is coming. It's
So
coming.
what can we expect though? What is your sound going to be like?
I think it's a little bit like a pop soul. It has influences of everything that I love, but I think that it's gonna have a lot of Prince and a little bit of gospel in there.
Oh, I like that.
So yeah, you're just gonna have to wait to hear it.
It's funny, you mentioned pop soul, and the first person that came to mind was Prince. But who else
that's
would you
interesting.
say inspires your music?
Who inspires my music? It's so interesting. I mean, I'm listening to a lot of Sam Cooke right now. It's interesting. But I'm also missing a sound that I feel like I grew up on, which is a little bit of that neo soul sound. I mean, I miss Miss Lauryn Hill. I miss D'Angelo. I miss, the sounds in those first couple Maxwell albums. I miss that sound, you know what I mean? And so I miss Erykah Badu's early work too. Like, I mean, she's phenomenal. But so I'm hoping to bring a little bit of those influences
Bring it back.
into a little bit of what's happening currently sonically as well.
Yeah.
So.
We're not only influencing sound, you're also influencing thoughts in like your shirt.
Yeah.
Divided crossed out. We have invisible crossed out. I've seen
love
racism
that.
crossed out.
Yeah.
Tell us about your nonprofit clothing line and how you come up with all these amazing shirts.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So last year I was working with another actor, Robert Rader, and we were doing some work in the community. We were doing a lot of work with quote unquote at-risk youth, and we were bringing arts education and workshops and programming to those who are less fortunate. And I had this idea for this clothing line, and essentially I was like, let's do some dope fashion, urban stuff. And we left that meeting and came back and said, okay, if we're just doing clothes, who really cares? Let's do something that really has an impact in the areas of influence where we're already working. And we both agreed on that. And so we created this line called Indefined because after working in these workshops with these students, what we realized is there are labels and there are terms and there are circumstances placed on people that define them. And we want to allow people the opportunity to define themselves from within. And so that's where the term Indefined came from. So we created these shirts, and like you said, there's fear, there's hate. We started with those. Racism. We now have graduated to sweatshirts, and the funding goes to arts education for at-risk youth.
That's awesome.
But it's expanded in the last year.
I like that.
A couple weeks ago we celebrated a year, and I realized that we have helped to raise. Thank you. We have helped to raise over $90,000 for various charities and organizations.
T-shirts?
I don't know how that happened. I don't know how that happened.
That's amazing.
But such a gift, such a blessing, and we're also working with other organizations that aren't just about arts education for at-risk youth. We're working with a company called Restore that helps to end sex trafficking. I've been doing some work with Yamba Malawi, which is all about trying to find ways to create sustainable income in Malawi, Africa, and so what we really are trying to do is expand this idea and take some of the tools that we're learning from just people who are really altruistic and find ways to do what it is that you do, but bring funding and voice to those who don't have it. And that's what's important to me.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. But before we let you go, I do have to ask very quickly.
Yeah.
Give us an exclusive. What's next?
As if he's not doing enough.
Of BTC.
Y'all asking all the personal
yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm gonna help y'all out. I'm gonna help y'all out. Okay, so 2 things. I am about to be in an episode of Blue Bloods. That's coming out in the middle.
Okay.
Yeah, on CBS. It's gonna be in the middle of April. And you'll have to follow me on Instagram to figure out all the details for this next one I'm about to drop. But I may or may not be playing the husband of Danielle Brooks from Orange the New
Danielle
Black.
Brooks.
In her next film. So
Amazing. So
Yeah.
we will be following along with all the fun on Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us here at Arise 360.
And we'll be
much
going to
for
get
having
those shirts as well. So
Yeah.
And
thank
I
you
will
for
be
bringing
coming
it
back
on
to
here.
watch Hamilton
Yeah,
4
support
more
the
times.
cause.
All right, at least. All
Love to
right.
have you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for joining us for another edition of Arise Entertainment 360. I'm Shannon Lanier.
And I'm Katira King. We will see you tomorrow.
Peace.
Don't go
Thank you.